Guys look good. Everybody please take their places.
Appreciate having you. Little Angela.
Good morning. My name is Dennis Simmons, and I welcome you all to a beautiful day here at Veterans Memorial Park. 3 years ago, we got rained out, so if you're thinking it's a little bit hot and sunny, thank God it's a beautiful day. Today I wear at least 3 hats. One of them is as your MC, as the chaplain of the James C. Bills Post 685. At present, I'm also the commander of the VFW 161, and I proudly represent the 105th Military Air Wing as a senior master sergeant. Before I get started, I'd like to get some housekeeping out of the way. With us this morning, some of our politicians, Mike Aumick from the 1st Ward, George Belcher from the 2nd, and Dave Bavoso from the 2nd, Marianne Schultz from the 3rd Ward, Russ Potter and Steve Conklin from the 4th Ward. I have to say that George is a Marine. I made the mistake of saying former Marine one time, and any of the Marines out there know what I'm talking about. But we welcome them all. Frank Bell could not make it this morning. He had to work, but he sends his condolences that he couldn't make it, but he did have to work. And Sue Kelly also had a prior engagement and said she could not make it. I'd also like to compliment, if you look around the park, how nice the park looks today. And I'd like to compliment the mayor, but also the Department of Public Works and Vince Lopez on the excellent job that they do in maintaining our parks. I also had the pleasure of living up next to the West End Park, and that's also looking really, really nice, Mayor. Thank you very much. There's 2 other things I'd like to do when we're doing the housekeeping here, and one of them is I'd like to recognize a gentleman that has been in our midst for a very, very, very long time, and later on you'll be hearing from him when he plays taps, but he's been doing it, it said in the paper the other day, for 40-some years, and I know that just the other day that Henry Rainish had his 90th birthday, so I have a feeling that he's been doing it just a little bit longer than that. But I'd like to recognize Henry, and please give him a real warm round of applause. One other thing real quick, we also have 2 people within our midst that have been very, very, very helpful with the veterans community, and they'll be leaving us. And this will be the last official ceremony in which they can actually be recognized, and I'd like to do that because they actually are members of my post and my auxiliary. And I'd like you all to wish Dave Gibbs and his wife Chris Gibbs a well-to-do, because they're going to be leaving in July for Florida, and we're going to be losing them from our midst and from our services. They've been great friends of the veterans all the time that they've been here, so please give them a warm round of applause. Now, I'd like to call on James Tooley, the chaplain of the VFW Roosevelt Fleming Post number 161, to come up here for the invocation.
Second Airborne Association. Okay. Up.
Almighty God, Father of us all, thy servants turn to thee for continuance of thy blessing upon us. Thou who hast spared us veterans from the grasp of our enemy, grant us the full understanding of thy precious comfort. We thank thee for the privilege of life and the blessings we enjoy through thy graciousness and our country, the land in which we are given the freedom of speech, religion, and pursuit of happiness. Assist us to know thee better, and that thou art the God of the universe and our dear. In thy mercy, may we the living find our peace. Grant us from above this day the challenge of faith, endeavor the beauty of and the humble spirit, the strong courage and will, without exertion, to continue to glorify thee, praise thee, and love thee to the end of time. Amen.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. We will now have a choral group come forward from select students from the Port Jervis Band, and they'll be accompanied by the Port Jervis High School Band, and they'll be singing America the Beautiful.
Okay. And raise.
Beautifully done. Thank you very much. I now ask John Thomas, commander of the James C. Bills, American Legion Post number 685, to come forward and to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. John?
Welcome all. Pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Broome Street Band will now play It's a Grand Old Flag. very much. Now we come to the part of the program as to why we're actually here. I'm going to call forth different members of our veterans community to place the wreaths on the various monuments that you see throughout the park here. The first one is the Gold Star Mother's Monument behind me, and a wreath will be placed by myself and Roger Fuller from the naval ship VFW 7241. Roger.
You ain't doing nothing. I got it. Yeah, for sure.
Next, we'll place a monument, or excuse me, a wreath on the Civil War monument, and that'll be done by John Thomas, commander of 685, and Dick Ballard.
She does more than I do for the family.
There's a little change there. That's not Dick Ballard, that's actually Mary Ships. Dick asked me to make that announcement.
I didn't ask you.
Next, we'll have the laying of a wreath on the World War II monument by Joe Vizerta, World War II veteran, and Howard Holefield from the 82nd Airborne. Gentlemen. The wreath laid at the Korean War Monument will be done by Charlie Flieger from Naval Ship 7241 and Louis Reel, a Korean War veteran. Gentlemen. Laying the wreath at the Vietnam War Memorial is Roger Fuller from the Naval Ship and David Gibbs from Ruza Fleming 161. Laying the wreath at the Disabled American Veterans Monument will be Chris Gibbs, President of the Ladies Auxiliary 161, and Mary Ships, President of Ladies Auxiliaries for the James C. Bills American Legion Post 685. Ladies?
Thank you.
And last, certainly not least, this morning the memorial wreath on the new War on Terrorism, that's the Global War on Terrorism, dedicated just 2 years ago, over to my right, will be placed by Peter Osborne, Director of the Menacing Valley Historical Society, who's a very, very good friend to the veteran community here in Port Jervis and the tri-state area, and his good friend, Dan Dwyer, who's also my good friend from the VFW Post 161. Peter was invited to participate in this ceremony as he's had a major role in the overall planning of the monument here in Orange Square Veterans Park. The two Port Jervis VFW organizations and the American Legion appreciate very much his help and wish to recognize his constant support of all the veterans' activities here in the tri-state area.
Yeah.
As they place that last wreath, the Port Jervis High School band, led by the director Michael Pacer, will play Amazing Grace. Broome Street Band will now play an Armed Forces medley. Outstanding. And I have to tell you again, all during that medley, I see my friend Hank Ranish over there, who's playing right along with those guys. And at 90 years old, Hank, I hope that I'm still doing that. And I hope you're right alongside me. I'd like to call on Vince Livingston from the VFW Naval Ship 7241 to announce a couple names of some of our young members of our community who have set an outstanding example for their peers when it comes to patriotism. Vince?
Thank you, Dennis. Each year, all the veterans groups throughout the nation sow buddy poppies as a reminder that what we've done and what we're trying to do. So today, we have two young people who've been named Queen and King. Alexis Cabalone, would she come up and stand in the front here? And a little king, Charlie Prussia. Thank you. This is one of the ways that we are trying to get our youth involved in our community. We can't wait till they're 20 or 30. We have to start when they're 7 and 8. So we congratulate them and hope they will continue to do poppy work for us, and they will show their Americanism to the community. Thank you very much. They're Queen and King for the state from the Tri-States Naval Ship. Okay? Thank you.
I have to concur with Vince. It's always nice to see so many young people attend these affairs. And if you look around this morning, we have a number of different groups that are represented, and I think that that's really a kudos to their parents and also to their troop leaders. So thank you all for coming. We do appreciate it. I now call on Wayne Decker, Orange County Legislature, for a few words.
Thank you, Dennis. It's an honor for me to be here today. Those who remember and honor each Memorial Day number more than 1 million. That's more than 1 million Americans who have given the last full measure of devotion while serving our nation. The lives and service of our nation's veterans span every decade, every year, every day of our country's existence. We owe them a great deal. It is up to us to give meaning to their sacrifice. We and our children after us must be devoted to the principles for which these heroic citizens gave their lives. By holding fast to the same principles they cherished, and by teaching our children about our country's history and the vital role veterans played to make this history possible, we begin to repay the debt. We gain strength from what they did, from their devotion and their patriotism, and are inspired to honor the cause for which they died. For a brief moment in history, they held our nation's destiny in their hands, and they did not fail us. And we must not fail them now. For 230 years, our military has been a bastion against America's enemies. In that time, our world has changed, and our armed forces have changed with it. But the valor, the dignity, and the courage of the men and women in uniform remain the same. All too often, we forget the responsibility we have to keep the memory of those brave men and women alive. All too often, we forget how fortunate we are to live in a democracy where there is no fear of oppression, as there is in many other parts of the world today. We are a nation blessed with many privileges, but as Franklin Roosevelt once said, those who have long enjoyed such privileges as we enjoy forget in time that men have died to win them. Let's not forget today why we live in this great democracy. And let us not forget all the men and women throughout our history who have fought to their dying breath so that we may live in freedom. And finally, on this Memorial Day, it's also time for remembering those who still guard our freedom. Let's keep all of them and their families in our thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I now call on Richard Gassman, Mayor of Matamoros, for a few words. Dick here? Okay. We have a special number by the Port Jervis High School Band and directed by Michael Pacer.
The band lead?
Hey.
He's handsome.
You don't know who the hell I am. Huh?
Thanks, Mike.
I'm putting that computer down.
I now call on our Mayor of Port Jervis, Gary Lapiore, for a few words.
You don't know who I am, do you? I know who you are. Come on, start thinking, Acre.
Good morning.
Start thinking, Acre.
I am honored to stand here before you today to pay tribute to those who have made the supreme sacrifice for our country so that we all may stand here a free
I know
people.
goddamn well who you are.
Decoration Day, as was called, was a day set aside to honor the nation's Civil War dead by decorating their graves. Waterloo, New York is known to have been the first community to observe this day in 1866. Businesses closed and residents decorated the graves of soldiers with flowers and flags. By the late 1800s, communities across the country began to celebrate Memorial Day, and after World War I, observances also began to honor those who had died in all American wars. Memorial Day became a national holiday by an act of Congress in 1971. Like many of you, I have attended Memorial Day ceremonies in this park. In the past several years, I have seen the number of attendees increase. However, too many people treat this day as a day to shop, begin the summer season with a barbecue, or have a day off of school. It is incumbent upon all of us to educate our children and grandchildren about the importance of this day. To those who say, watch a parade and attend a ceremony, let me give them hundreds and thousands of reasons why they should do that. According to the Department of Veterans Affairs, they list 12 American wars, beginning with the American Revolution, through the war on terrorism, which we are presently fighting. As of November 2005, the Department of Veterans Affairs reports the following. The number of U.S. military serving during wartime, 43,185,893. Battle deaths, 652,696. Other deaths in theater, 14,416. Deaths not in theater, 525,223. Those wounded, 1,447,281. Living war veterans, 18,155,573. And living veterans who served both during war and non-war times and peace times, 24,387,336. I can tell you, and you know by my telling you, that these numbers are staggering, and they should be reason enough why people should give up a couple hours of their day to attend the parade and the ceremony, whether it be here in Port Jervis or wherever those folks may live. Thank you all for being here. Next year, I hope the numbers swell even more. God bless America. God bless our veterans. Thank you.
Gary has a special place in his heart for veterans because his son also served, and he was a senior airman in the Air Force and served in the Middle East with the military police and is back home and I believe ready to discharge, Gary? Stayed in. Good. Good. The next speaker I have the pleasure of calling upon, I've known for a very long time. He's a Korean War veteran. He was assigned to a MASH unit during the Korean War. He's been known throughout this area to be a friend of the veteran. He's written an awful lot of articles over the years about veterans and the sacrifices that they've made. He's tried to be there whenever any veteran needed him, but he's had a special place in his heart for the Vietnam veteran. In 1966, he was responsible for forming one of the first welcome home ceremonies for any Vietnam veteran, and it was up at the Black Bear Inn, if any of you remember it. I certainly don't, I was never there. And he also was responsible for a welcome home party after the war for all the veterans, because as you know, many of our Vietnam vets never got that welcoming. And he was responsible to make sure that happened in 1978, and he did that at the airport park over in Matamoros. So without further ado, I call on Chris Farlikas to give us our main address. Thank you.
Three things have happened to me this month. I got my doctorate from Mount St. Mary's a week ago Saturday. 2 days before that, the American Red Cross had a dinner, and I was honored as the Citizen of the Year for raising money to help the people here in Port Jervis, Deer Park, Livingston Manor, and Roscoe with the flood that we had last year, plus the tsunami and so on. Mike Sullivan, who's the man I work with, who was a gunnery sergeant in Vietnam in a helicopter, and we were talking about this, and I told him I was coming today, and he said, you know, he said, this is the greatest honor, is for you to come back to Port Jervis. And he's right. This is my hometown. This is a very important place to me. I've been coming here for 42 years as a reporter. I guess you saw me running around taking photos so I could write a story. And for years before that. Now, on the other side of the monument, there's a line that says, "Our treasured memories of the heroic and generous dead." Heroic and generous dead. Behind me, this World War I monument on this side says, "We will never forget." Now, of course, what happens is we do forget. And I've been thinking about that. Part of the reason we forget is because war may seem remote unless it's somebody that you love that's in your family or a relative of yours. So, to take it out of the general and to make it very specific, and I hope the young people are listening because I really like the kids in the Port Jervis High School band. They do great work. I'm going to I'm going to bring the war the way it was brought home to me. Death closes doors. I thought that Sunday afternoon as I looked at the Korean War Memorial in Orange Square. Dale Drinko's name took on a shine as the sun hit it. Later I drove by his old house and I remember the days of our youth when I'd walk in, Marie, his mother, would throw more spaghetti in the pot and we'd eat in the kitchen. It seems to me she kept a pot of meatballs and sauce on 24 hours a day. Dale was killed a long time ago. Korea is ancient history for young people and for many others. The older I get, I'm more convinced it's really the forgotten war, not Vietnam. And when you love somebody, when you shared high school with them, their memory is what the Chinese call a flowering in the heart. And I think every veteran here that's lost somebody understand what it's like to have had a friend that you're very close to. Dale was only 22 when he was killed in what was known as Shakespeare's Mountain in Korea. A lieutenant, he was at the head of a column leading his men through a minefield. How typical that he'd be at the front. A tough, joyous man, he was a warrior on the football field, basketball court, and baseball diamond. A superb athlete, one of the greatest that ever came out of Port Jervis. He graduated with so many letters on his jacket, you couldn't tell what color it was. We became friends in the 7th grade, a study in contrast. We shared thoughts and dreams, beer and meatballs. I was a school newspaper editor and yearbook editor, and he was the shining star in sports. Halloween night of our senior year, we got busted with 8 other seniors for piling leaves on a woman's porch on Orange Street. We had to go to court the next morning where the judge read us the Riot Act and where my father disowned me that night when I came home and told him that I'd been busted and was in jail. One of the guys with us was Dick Fay, whose uncle, Ed Cullenham, was the police chief, so he got even worse than we did. And another of the guys was Bill Goodfellow, who lived right around the corner here, who died just 3 weeks later playing football against Middletown on Thanksgiving Day, one of the saddest days in the history of Port Jervis. After the funeral, Dale and I drove to Point Peter and cried our hearts out. It was the first time that death had invaded us. Within 5 years, both of us had been witnesses to more death than we could handle. I was a medic in Korea. He was the platoon leader. In his last letter to me, he talked about the night after graduation when we went skinny dipping at Vans Beach. And then we sat there talking about life until gray streaks covered the darkness. I had the letter in my pocket when I returned home from the war on September 25th, 1953. I came in on Erie train number 7, which got to Port Jervis at 2:20 in the morning. I was shaking from the emotions of coming home, and veterans will all understand that. So I went next door to see Joe Dunn, who poured me a couple of stiff drinks. I needed it to steady myself. So I still couldn't go home, so I sat on the curb for a while, watching the lights change in the absolute quiet of 3 a.m. The wind scratched a leaf along the gutter, and I thought it was the loneliest sound I'd ever heard, even more piercing than all the men who cried medic for me as they were wounded and dying. I walked to West End to Dale's house. Marie had a Gold Star mother flag in the window. I wanted to go in for a cup of coffee, but I felt suddenly shy. I couldn't talk about Dale to her, not then. I couldn't talk about how much I missed him and the way he'd smile and say, "See you later, alligator." And I'd always say, "After a while, crocodile." Corny, sure. But who cares when you're Dale and Chris and the whole world is there to taste? Now the door is closed. I don't have a friend whose house I can just walk into and have a cup of coffee. Now I call ahead and it's okay. That's part of growing old. But man, I sure do miss Dale. And a lot of other guys who've died in the wars of my lifetime. They used to say, hey, take care wherever you are. And so we honor him today. And Dale is in my heart. And it's still, after a while, Crocodile. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for sharing those memories with us. I now call on the VFW Post 161, Naval Ship VFW 7241 for a rifle salute, which will be followed by taps played by Hank Ranish, and the national anthem by the high school band, and the choral group after that will sing God Bless America.
So we got now colors.
Thank you so very much. At this time, I'd like to thank the different organizations that actually have participated today. Port Jervis Police Department for their escort, the city officials and visiting guests, Port Jervis High School Band, 82nd Airborne Color Guard, American Legion 685 officers, members, and their auxiliary, DAV Color Guard and the Jeep, Port Jervis Elks Lodge 645 for their American flag and the float, Daughters of the American Old Mine River Daughter of the American Revolution, Old Mine River Road Chapter, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Broome Street Marching Band, Ruza Fleming VFW 161, their color guard, their officers, their members, and their auxiliary, Knights of Columbus and the members, the Tri-States Naval Ship 7241, their color guard, their officers, their members, and their auxiliary, the ROTC from Middletown, Tin Can Navy Unit from New Jersey, the Girl Scouts and the Brownies, and the Port Jervis Youth Program members, and the Port Jervis Ambulance. Thank you all. In a second, I'm going to call on Vince Livingston, and when I do, that'll conclude our ceremony. But before I do, I have a couple of personal thoughts that I'd like to be able to share with you. Just the other day, I was watching television, and I saw Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan. How many people out there actually saw the movie Saving Private Ryan? I've asked this question a number of different times, and you'd be surprised how many times I don't get an answer. But what was the theme to Saving Private Ryan? And I think Sherry Moen, when I asked her, she gave me the best answer that I think that I've ever received. And she not only gave it to me, but she gave it to me very quickly. And she said, service before self. And I think that that is the theme. But I want to kind of conjure up in your mind just one image. And that's when the captain, John H. Miller, lies dying on the bridge after having saved Private James Francis Ryan. And he whispers something to him. And of course, Ryan can't hear him because of all the noise. And he leans in closer. And does anybody remember what he had to say to him? Earn this. That's exactly right. Earn this. What these men have done for you here today, earn it. And as I look around this park, and I look at the different memorials that are here, and each one of them have names of people from this community, and I honestly think that the only thing that they would ever ask you to do for all the goodness and all the great things that this country has given to each and every single one of us is earn it. I don't think we ever can. And even at the end of the movie, you see where Private Ryan questions himself after doing all the extraordinary things he himself did. And he questions himself and turns to his wife and says, I was a good man. I was a good citizen. And he begins to cry. So I throw that challenge down to each and every single one of you to stand here today. And I think, again, these people that are on each one of these monuments would say the exact same thing to you. Please, in your daily lives, and there's many ways you can do it, but earn what these people have done for each and every single one of us. Thank you.
Took me 50 years to tell them
I now call on Vince Livingston for chaplain of the Naval Ship VFW 7241 for the benediction.
There's one other party that we should give a real big thanks. It took a lot of time, a lot of planning, and that's Frank Cimarella there. Did you take a look at that float, the time, and how nice it looked in the parade? And that's what we are trying to encourage the community to get involved in our parades. This is not just a veterans parade. It's for every man and woman and child in this community to get together and make it twice as big as it ever has. We always plan for our next parade. We're already planning for our November Veterans Day. So each one of you try to plan and come out bigger, better, and show everybody that we are a great community.
Vince, always being as modest as he is, he failed to mention three other people that really need to be thanked today. Vince is the chairman of the parade committee, and he did an outstanding job. Dan Dwyer also serves on that committee, and John Thomas served on the committee for the parade today. And it doesn't just come together, it takes a lot of hard work, and Vince has always spearheaded that since Harold Steiger could no longer do it, and he's done an outstanding job. So thank you for the applause. Thank you, Vince.
Let us bow our heads. Almighty God, our gratitude for thy generosity grows with each passing day. We acknowledge this day's special blessing. We have honored those who now enjoy the eternal embrace. We ask thy blessing on all here present. Especially do we seek thy consolation for those recently bereaved. May thy grace be with them, with us now and forever. And if it be thy will, may we all be favored together again in these circumstances and this company before another year has passed. Amen. May God bless.
God bless.
Again, thank you all for coming. The assembly is dismissed. Veterans are dismissed to their posts for some due refreshments, and thank you very much. We'll see you next year.